This is the Cedar Creek Church Living It Out podcast, a midweek reminder where we discuss key takeaways and principles from the weekend message to help you live out the truth that you matter.
Welcome to the Living It Out podcast. My name is Kelly, and with me today is Luke Shortridge. Luke, good to have you here today.
Thank you. Great to be here. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on the show. I know life has been a little busy for you, so it's great to have you back.
Busy fall, like I'm sure many people. Tons of activity, and kids are busy. Church has been busy. We've had some big services, big weekends.
We've been growing.
Oh my gosh, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And then here we are in our last series of the year.
It is madness. Time is flying by.
It is. And so we kicked off this past weekend, if you weren't with us, we kicked off the gift of words, and this is what's going to take us right up to our Christmas services. So it's fun to jump into this. And this series is really designed to help people learn how to use their words in a giving way. this is a gift that we can give. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Love it. Yeah, I am a big fan of words. I know you are as well.
Yep.
You leading the Living It Out. I led the Living It Out for many years. And I have to say that I have really enjoyed the flash fiction. So I don't know what kind of feedback you've got, but it has been a ton of fun reading those every day and just a variety of stories. We have such talented people.
Oh my goodness. It was really fun. It was one of those ideas that just kind of got dropped, and I sort of tossed it out there, and they were like, yeah, sure, let's try it. And fun. It was so fun. And what I think was really fun for me was to see the talent. Most of our writers are nonfiction writers. And in terms of the Living It Out, it's a nonfiction piece, obviously. And so I was kind of curious, what would happen? I only knew one of the writers and had seen her work. But I had people that actually don't write on the Living It Out. They do other things for us in the editing and proofing capacity, but I knew they love to write fiction. So I was like, wow, to see these people write was just so fun.
So cool. Yeah, if you missed it, you're not sure what I'm talking about, you could sign up for text messages that would send you 1/5 of a fiction story.
Yep.
Short, probably, 2-3 minute read.
Yep.
And then Monday through Friday would tell one complete story. So I think there were 4 cycles of that.
4 cycles, that tried to line up as best as we could. We got the theme, but we didn't really know anything else about the movie. We just, when it all started, we just knew the theme that was coming out. So we didn't know the film, we just knew the theme. And that's what they wrote on, was that and a scripture verse. Super
fun. We'll have to do that again in the future.
Yeah, it was fun. Words, surrounded by them all the time with the Living It Out. It was great. And so they have power, though, right? It's not something we sometimes maybe don't think that, but our words really do have power. And so how can we use them to impact others in a positive manner? That's what I want to kind of jump into today.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. And our verse that we sort of that Ben sat in over the weekend, was from Ephesians 4. And so I'd love for you to start us off by sharing those verses.
All right. So Ephesians 4:29, and then we're going to jump to 31 through 32. It says, "Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you."
Thanks, Luke. I would love for you to, there's a lot there. We could probably spend the next, 45 minutes just unpacking this verse alone, or these verses alone. But as you read that, what stands out to you that you want our listeners to know?
Yeah, I think Ben gave voice to it, and this is often used in Christian circles to talk about not swearing or watching your tongue, which I think is right and true. Beyond that, though, I think the same way that Jesus raises the bar when he lived for what is morality, what is expected, this verse kind of does the same thing. So, for example, Jesus talks about, "You've heard it said, 'Do not murder,' and I say, don't even have a word in anger given to someone else." So the bar is raised. Or Jesus says that the law says, "Do not commit adultery," but I say, don't even think about someone in a lustful way. So it's not even just about not cursing people. The bar for Christ followers is super high when it comes to speech.
Yeah.
We are to have no corrupt thing come out of our mouths, only use words that are uplifting instead of words that tear down. So that is a very high bar.
Yes.
I don't think any of us perfectly are there. We
No.
probably all have work to do on it.
Yeah.
But I have to think, though, that it also harkens back then to the language that Jesus, our Savior, used when he was on this earth.
Yeah.
So we are blessed to have a lot of the recorded words of Jesus. So there were eyewitnesses that traveled with Jesus, and we have 4 specifically eyewitness accounts that were either his disciples or they studied under his disciples, and they recorded words of Jesus. And what we find when we look at the words of Jesus, Jesus' words are marked with compassion, they are marked with forgiveness, and then Jesus also asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, Kelly? How does that strike you, thinking about Jesus, who is the Son of God, knew everything, asking questions?
That is such a good reminder to me that I don't ask enough questions. Like, let's just put it out there that I don't ask nearly as many questions as I should. Not to should on myself. We don't want to go there, but it's a good reminder to take a minute and pause and think, how can I rephrase that into a question that would invite people into a conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that questions pull and statements push. So a lot of times when we converse with others, we want to get our point across. We want them to know what we want to know. And questions really cause us to be humble. We have to admit that we don't have the answers. And Jesus had the answers, still asked questions because he was humble. And in that way, I think questions also show that we are genuinely curious, whether it be about the other person or the situation, that we're not coming into that pretending like we have all the answers, because newsflash, we don't have all the answers.
Exactly. We don't. And that was our bottom line from the weekend too, that reminder that a thoughtful question can lead to life-giving connection. And that is really how Jesus operated, was through those questions.
That's cool. Yeah, one thing I've thought about too is that after we become Christ followers, we are new creations in Christ, that we are new from the inside out, that the old is gone and the new has come. And one of the ways that manifests itself, or at least it should, is through our language. It's through our speech. So if we are allowing the Holy Spirit to lead our lives, that starts within. There's an internal rejuvenation that happens, but it should then also be seen and heard through how we talk. So how we treat the people who are closest to us, how we treat the person that cuts us off in traffic. I've heard it said that if you want to see someone's true character, look at the language that they use, the words that they use with bad service or lost luggage. So in those situations, the words that come out of our mouth often reveal the internal character within. And if we are allowing the Spirit to lead us and not our flesh, it should look different than how our lives did before Christ was a part of it.
That's great. That's a great little litmus test of, hey, how much more do I have to work on this, and where am I at? Because it's easy when we're getting our way, right?
That's right. Or when the kids cram 10 cookies into the VCR,
Oh, yeah. I haven't had that one.
Well, that's a dated reference, but you get my point.
I do get your point. Yeah, I thought about that happening. How would I have responded to the 10 cookies in the VCR?
I was the kid who stuffed the 10 cookies in the VCR.
Very good. Very good. So how about you, Luke? When you think about Jesus, who asked lots and lots and lots of questions, where do you fall on that spectrum?
Yeah, I have work to do, as I'm sure we all do. But one thing that I have learned over the years is just how important it is to be curious about people. And I think people can sense when you're faking it. So not just like wait for your turn to talk, but actually genuinely listen, to ask follow-up questions, to really find out who are people beneath the surface. And I know Ben touched on that this weekend. When it comes to the type of questions that we ask people, but the motivation behind it has got to be that we are genuinely curious about people.
Absolutely. Because
Jesus was. Because this is how he showed his love, is that he inconveniences himself, and he says, Zacchaeus, I need to go to your house, and I need to eat with you today. Or the woman with bleeding, when he says, who touched me? Again, Jesus, I think he knew the answer because he was the Son of God.
Right.
But still gave him time to talk to and address a woman that desperately needed his love and his forgiveness and his healing. So I just see that modeled by Jesus. Jesus was genuinely interested in the people around him, and the way that came out was he asked a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that it's not just the question asking, it's the genuine curiosity behind the question asking that's so important to
because you can
consider.
Manipulate, and I think building influence with people and genuinely caring about people, it can also there can be a shadow side of manipulation if we're not careful, where it's like, I'm just going to use people to be a means to an end. I don't see Jesus doing that.
Right.
It really starts with the heart. So it does with him, and it does with us as well.
Good point. And you pointed out that not all questions are equal.
That's right. So Ben talked through, there was a leadership summit talk given by Vanessa Edwards. She is brilliant. I think she was trained at Harvard. I don't remember, one of the Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
But she's done research when it comes to body language and questions and just kind of like social interaction. She studies social interaction. So she talked through different questions that people would ask others, and then she rated energy. Was it energy received or energy depleted when it came to these types of interactions with people, especially people getting to know each other for the first time? So the lowest ranked questions that they looked at, where it was like energy depleted, and I don't know if you remember or not, but it's just funny. It's how are you doing?
Right.
And what do you do? Those were the two lowest ranked questions. And what are our two go-to questions when we are creating small talk and getting to know people?
How are you doing and what do you do?
Right. Absolutely. So if we want to engage with people, if we want to be curious, and we actually want to use our words in a way that adds value and meaning, we need to try to go beneath the surface a little bit. So the three categories that Vanessa puts questions in would be general traits, which those questions that I just mentioned would be general traits. That would be the most surface level of the questions. And it's very factual. It's very much black or white, right or wrong, just how things are. But to go a little bit beneath that then would be personal concerns, the things that people actually care about. So asking about the things that matter to people most. So it could be passions, it could be family dynamics or things like that. And then the last layer, the most inner layer, was the inner world. So these are the passions, the things that really make people tick. And it's the reason why people get up in the morning, the things that they really care about. So if you can get people talking about their passions, if you can get people to describe the things that really fire them up, or even just make them mad or angry, you can really learn a lot about a person, which adds value to that interaction and allows you to be curious and show genuine love and concern for that person in the same way.
Yeah. Fantastic. It's great to think about those questions in the different layers. And I know I'm guilty of it too. In fact, I walked out of service and saw someone and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like,
"Oh my gosh, I do too."
Boy, but I could learn a little more
we were all
with
scolding each other in the lobby. It's just so second nature.
It really is. And so that's my question to you is how we can hear these things like, okay, those are questions that aren't going to be as powerful, and these are questions that are more powerful, but like actually making that transition and breaking those habits. Have you tried anything that's worked, or do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we could do. One is you could purchase Vanessa Edwards' book. So I've heard it's pretty good. I haven't read it yet myself, but you could do the audiobook. Or the physical copy for that. I think learning more about it, if this is an area that interests you, that'd be a great resource for further learning. But I think it's probably a muscle that needs to be built up over time. If it's been atrophied and you're like, I don't know if I really do that or not, you could ask someone else to keep you accountable. So if you're married or if you have a best friend, be like, hey, I want to be more naturally curious about people. I want to ask better questions. Can you point it out when I'm being more surface level, or can you kind of guide me in this? Like, what do you hear me saying? How do you hear me operating? So you could bring an accountability partner into it. And then I would say, too, you could also journal. So actually thinking about your behaviors and thinking about your social interactions. Like if you go to lunch with a friend, you could actually journal and talk about, how did I do? Did I talk about myself? Did I wait for my turn to talk? Was I properly curious and focused on them? And you could just rate yourself and see the progress that you make then over time.
That's great. And that made me think too of you could be intentional about coming up with a few questions that you want to ask at that lunch.
That's right.
And like yes, you're forcing it in the beginning, but hopefully through practice, if that idea of it being a muscle, I think is really powerful. That if you, okay, these are the questions that I want to be sure to ask, that they'll just become more commonplace in your language and your vocabulary.
So I'm a huge dork, and you probably think less of me after you hear this, but I will write down questions before I go to meetings.
That's good.
So if it's like one-on-one, even if it's just like lunch meetings where like, hey, I want to make sure that I ask about this, or I've done when we go to Cedar Point and you're like with the same group of people for 8 hours a day, I'll put discussion questions on my phone or questions that I want to ask them, because I know that there'll be low spots in the day, and it helps just to keep the conversation flowing. So I know not everybody's going to do that, but I found it to be helpful.
That's a great tool, because I think we have the best intentions.
Totally.
Hey, I want to ask these questions, and we might even have questions that we've thought of that we want to ask.
Sure.
But if you're like me, then when it gets to the moment, it's like, I had a great question for you. Yeah. And then I'll sit there and I'll think, and it'll never quite gel like right how I had it. So I love that idea of writing it down and using it in those low spots.
And maybe you never need it. Maybe you get to a point, the conversation's flowing. Great. It's there in case of emergency.
Yeah, just something to tuck in your back pocket to start those conversations at a little bit deeper level. And even just the nuances. I think, you go from how are you to what's been a highlight of your day. And that's still a relatively surface level. I think she still qualifies that as a level 1. But even that is a much deeper choice, a much more informational choice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as a family, we try to eat dinner together probably, 4 or 5 times a week. And at the dinner table, it's a great time to just press pause. So there's no devices, no distractions. Right. But we will ask the kids and my wife and I, so we'll do what was a high point of your day, what was a low point of your day, and then we'll throw in some kind of bonus question. The bonus questions are often like, what is something you're looking forward to? Or what is your favorite thing about, even a person, or what is your favorite thing that with the upcoming season that you're looking forward to? It's something you enjoy doing. And when you have those questions, it's just amazing where the conversation goes, and so much of their personality. My kids are between the ages of 9 and 14, so getting them to talk and communicate their thoughts and feelings isn't always easy.
Right.
But when you force them a little bit, put them on the spot, we've just had great conversations. It's been so rich. It takes a little bit of intentionality to do that, but you learn so much in the process.
Absolutely. Yeah, those teenage years can be hard when their response is, I'm alive. That's a favorite around our house. But we are only asking, how are you? And they'll say, I'm alive. So that might be the depth of the question there that we need to.
Yeah, my middle son's favorite answer is stuff.
Stuff. Okay. Oh, that's
what you working on?
Stuff.
Yeah. Great.
Fantastic. So tell me about that stuff, then you have to, it makes you creative though, like thinking about asking questions like, okay, I can't ask that the same way, or I'll get the same answer.
Yeah, you got
it. It makes you creative as a parent. So, or at least that's what I keep telling myself versus getting frustrated. Oh, well, Luke, thank you. I think that's some really great information, really usable information, listeners. I hope that you were able to take something from that as we consider the importance of our words and how they can be such a gift to people, more so than we think.
Love it. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Julie Mabus, who wrote the Living It Out on Monday.
Oh, so good.
It was fantastic. I did not know that Advent originally was not connected to Jesus's first coming, that it was having to do with his second. So just great insights and context. If you are not a regular reader of the Living It Out, I highly suggest it. Your team is killing it, Kelly. So pass on my compliments to them.
I will do that. And it is such an honor to work with them, because it is a talented bunch. And if you say, well, I don't read the Living It Out on a regular basis, or you're not subscribed, if you want to get our Advent devotions, we are actually doing a text campaign. If you're like, I don't like going into email or whatever, we're doing these Advent devotions via text. Just text Advent to 419-419-0707, and they will come right to your inbox. We even have it coming at 7 a.m., not like 4 or 5 a.m. when the email gets rolled out every day. So we didn't want to wake anybody up, but it'll be there for you early in the morning. And lots of great devotions have been written. So it's been fun to see. It's been really fun to see.
If you care if I give a plug for Christmas services?
I would love for you to give a plug.
All right. So at Perrysburg, at least, we have 7 services. Every campus is a little bit different. So if you are interested in finding out about times and location of Christmas services, you can go to cedarcreek.tv/Christmas. That's going to list all the information there. Yes, go on there now, plan your visit, put it in your calendar so that you can plan ahead. And then would you consider inviting a friend or a family member? Christmas, we work very hard to make the programming really good. So you're not going to be embarrassed if you invite or bring a friend.
Right.
But we would love to see our campuses filled up with people this holiday season. So I'm not sure if it's available yet, but on our app, we are going to be doing invites.
Okay.
So on the front page of the app, you'll see share an invite. If you click that, it will populate a text. It'll pull up your text messages and populate an invite that you can just send to someone.
That's great.
Or if you're at our campuses this weekend, you can pick up a physical card. I know some people like to do that.
Yep.
And those are great to give away. Just, if you meet somebody at the gas station or
grocery store,
you have a great relationship with your server, pass along a Christmas invite. You just never know. That invite has the power to change a life and a change in eternity.
Absolutely. And I think Christmas is where people are really receptive, maybe more so than throughout the year. But oftentimes that is a tradition that people have. They may not be regular attenders at a church, but they do want someplace at Christmas.
That's
and
right.
it's that next step for someone to take, a little, a baby step, if you will. And that can lead to so much more, which is exciting.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing, if you're looking for something to do before Christmas to kind of set the mood, perhaps to serve with your family, with your kids, we are doing shoeboxes again this year. And at each of the campuses this coming weekend is our second Saturday serve. And they're wrapping the shoeboxes and preparing them to go out into our community. So if that is something that interests you, we would love to have you. And you can check it out at cedarcreek.tv/serve, and it'll give information on Second Saturday Serve for you. So lots of holiday options, whether it's coming to the next couple of messages for the gift of words, serving for our Second Saturday Serve with the shoeboxes, inviting someone, or participating in our Advent Living It Out. We hope that you are able to really get involved in this holiday season and get excited for the celebration of Christ's birth.
Love it. Thanks, Kelly. Always a pleasure.
Always, Luke. Thanks for being here. Listeners, thanks so much for taking time out of your day. We appreciate you. We hope this time has reminded you that you matter and helps you to live it out throughout the week.